Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me and Zoe, our cat, for our Myofascial Release. This series, number 7, gets into the hips, and we'll be using a roller today. Place your roller across your mat, and we're going to start by sitting on the roller, and we'll start to warm up our glutes a little bit. You can either sit with just your hands on the roller, or you might want blocks. So you might position the blocks behind you on either side of your mat or on your mat. Just find whatever feels good to you. And then you might just start to roll back and forth over the roller. Notice how your hips feel. You can also just have your hands on your legs. So we're just starting to warm up the glutes a little bit. And just position the blocks, whatever feels good to you. Just sort of making your arms longer by using the blocks. And just a little bit back and forth. And then tip your knees over to the right. So you're getting a little more over to the right glute. You can bring your feet together and drop your knees over to the right. So you're getting a little more towards the outer right hip. Notice how that feels. This sometimes can feel quite sensational. And then the other side. Drop your knees over to the left, getting a little more onto your left glute. And notice any differences. And then set your blocks aside. From here, you can straighten your legs and just go forward and back, getting into the hamstrings a little bit. And then back up towards the low back. Just rolling back and forth, stopping when you get just above the knees. So now we're going to get into the outer hips a little bit. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh. And you might use a block to rest your right hand on. Left hand might be on your right leg or ankle. You might also just have your right hand on the mat. And notice sensation. This can feel quite intense. Notice how this feels. You can go slow or faster. Sometimes going slower increases the intensity. And then release that ankle, and we'll do the other side. So cross your left ankle over your right thigh, and drop your left knee towards the mat so you're more on the left hip. Right hand might be on that left ankle, and you can sort of use your left hand to support. Again, forward and back. The more you drop your left knee towards the mat, the more you're going to feel this in the outer left hip. So we're getting into the TFL in this exercise, the Tensor Fasciae Latae. Tensor Fasciae Latae sort of sounds like a coffee drink. Notice how this feels. And then release, coming back to center. And again, you might go forward and back a few times. Notice sensation. Finding what feels good to you. And now we're going to get into the outer hips again, the TFL, just a little different. So we're not going to roll all the way down on the IT band, but this is where the IT band begins. So coming onto your hip, lower onto your forearm, and we're just doing that small area of the TFL. So you can bring your right foot across onto the mat and keep your left leg straight, using your left toes to sort of move up and down over the roller. Supporting yourself with your forearm. Again, you're just going into that small area of the TFL. You're not rolling down the whole IT band. And then other side. So again, coming onto your right hip, left foot in front of your right thigh, keeping that left foot on the mat, right forearm on the mat for support. Just a little movement up and down using your bottom foot to get a little movement there. Notice how that feels. So just staying in this one general area. We can get into the IT band in other ways, and we'll go into that in another video. Might, as I demonstrate there, explore having the foot behind the straight leg and notice sensation. And then pause. Notice sensation. Notice those outer hips. So set your roller aside and then come back onto your mat. And from table, tuck your toes and come into a downward facing dog. Notice how this feels. Any movement that feels good to you. And then maybe widen your feet, come into a Malasana squat, or you could even sit on a block. And then lower your hips, feet together, hinging forward, coming into a butterfly pose, stretching those outer hips. This should feel pretty good. So now, sitting on your mat with your knees bent, place the roller under your legs and lay down in constructive rest. So move your feet closer so you can feel the roller. Press into your feet to lift your hips and position the roller at your low back around the sacrum. Lower your hips, make sure this feels comfortable, and hold the roller with both hands. You might explore lifting your knees up over your hips and then straightening your legs up and then keeping your knees bent and together. Slowly take your knees over to one side and then back up to center and over to the other side. Notice how that feels. You might straighten the legs up and pause here, or just lower one foot then the other, and then slowly straighten one leg out. Keep holding the roller with your hand so it won't move away from you. And then rebend that knee and straighten your other leg out. Notice the stretch at your hip flexors. This can feel really nice. If that felt pretty good, maybe explore both legs straight, coming into sort of a starfish position. This is a great stretch for the hip flexors. Notice how this feels. If it's too intense with both legs straight, just do one at a time. Invite your legs to be heavy and soft. This is so great for the front of the hips. Our hip flexors sometimes can be so shortened and tight. So continue to breathe here as long as this feels appropriate to you. Bend one knee and then the other, and come back into that supportive bridge. Pause here. Then again, you might bend the knees over your hips and then straighten your legs up the invisible wall, maybe point and flex through your feet. Lower your feet, cross one ankle over the opposite thigh, and then lifting your foot up. Notice how that hip stretch feels. And then explore the other side, crossing the other ankle over the other thigh, and lifting the foot up, drawing that ankle and knee towards you, and then release. So hands on the roller, lift your hips, press the roller back down towards your feet, and let your feet come on to the roller into sort of a butterfly pose, keeping your feet on the roller. Or you might straighten the legs out and rest your calves on the roller. Just notice what feels good to you. You might sort of move your legs in whatever position feels good. Maybe moving the roller down with your feet, so you can just invite your lower legs or feet to rest on the roller. Pause here. Relax completely and notice your breath. Notice sensation, especially in your hips. And then thoughtfully remove one foot then the other from the roller. Bend one knee and then the other, drawing your knees in towards your chest. And thoughtfully dropping your knees to one side, make your way back up to a seat. So thank you so much for joining me today for this myofascial release. Remember to drink your water. I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Namaste.